Hey, welcome back everybody. So in the last video on the 85-300D, you saw how we redid the rear axles, sway bar end links, and did a differential service. There it is. All brand new parts under there now. The latest update is here is our new old stock bunt wheels. Those aren't spray painted. They're not powder coated. That is the original Mercedes finish. Those are in flawless condition. Had to drive to Virginia to get these from Atlanta. Those are perfect condition wheels. We got a set of 4 of them with new center caps. So that really makes the car pop. That's, you know, it's an 85-300D. That's what it deserves. So today, I'm starting on the front suspension. And excuse me, I haven't cleaned, you know, there's a little dirt up there and there's some dirt under here. I haven't cleaned any of this. I can see that the original owner, or previous owner, has already changed the rotors. And we have some very thick brake pads, so those are good. Brakes are not leaking. Let's just go take a peek underneath here. I can see there's no leaking from the oil pan. Oh, look at that. There is a brand new AC compressor. That's always nice to see. That thing is brand new. Let's check the tie rods under here. Oh yeah, those tie rods are good. The steering shock, let's check the center link. That center link, I think that's been replaced. I see the boots aren't ripped on the tie rod. That's good. Looks good under here. Let's go back over here. Sorry, I'm in so close. It's kind of crowded under here. Steering shock. The bushing looks good on the idler arm. Yeah, it's all looking pretty good under here. Hoses, all that's in good condition. Let's check if there's any leaks up here. That looks good. That's the oil filter housing. It's good. It's relatively dry under here. Bushings are good. Check our turbo. Yep, there's our turbo drain back. That's good. I don't see any leaking out of there. So it's looking pretty good on this front end, guys. Check this tie rod over here. Yeah, I can't even move the tie rods with my hand, so those are very, very stiff. Those are good. So let's, I want to lower the car and show you what I found up front. I wanted to look at the upper control arm bushings, and those are great condition. So is the upper control arm boot and the sway bar bushings. Let's go take a look on the other side. Okay, nice. We have nice solid bushings on the upper control arm. Sway bar bushings are good. And the boot, no rips, tears. That's good condition. The brake lines, these are not cracked or rotted. It's looking really good up here. So let's go ahead and get these wheels on here. But there is something I want to show you guys that I found up front. You saw the new AC compressor under there. That's a plus. Well, check this out. You guys notice anything there? This car has a brand new AC condenser. Look at that. Brand new bolts, brand new AC condenser. That is awesome. I never see that in these cars. So this car has had a complete overhaul on every component of the AC system. Let's go up here and let's take a look. Look at that. That is a brand new dryer with new switches. Yeah, that's great. New dryer, new switches, new AC compressor, and this brand new condenser. That's fantastic. Gosh, so this AC system is top notch. Every component on that AC system is brand new. All right, guys, we're about to do an oil change and transmission filter change and pan gasket change. And I just wanted to show what these new wheels, new old stock wheels looked like on here. That looks fantastic. Keep in mind, I haven't washed the car or anything. It's covered in pollen, but man, those really came out fantastic. So let's go ahead and get under here and start the general service. All right, guys, it's time to go ahead and start the service. We're going to do an oil change, power steering fluid. Radiator has already been flushed and has the Zurex Mercedes type coolant in there. And I'll need to see if we need to change this pre-filter. I need to get the flashlight and the main filter. But let's go ahead and start with the oil change. Guys, this is a man filter. You want to make sure you put your O-ring back on the filter cap. And I like man filters. I always use them. So before we put this in and actually torque it down, we're just going to loosely set it here right now. I want to go ahead and crack the drain plug underneath. And when you put your plug in, you always want to make sure you put a fresh crush washer up there. All right, let's get this oil filter cap back on here. Now guys, you don't want to torque down these bolts crazy tight. It's only like 10 foot-pounds. Otherwise, you'll pull the studs out and it won't seal right and blow all your oil out. Ask me how I know. Now let's get some fresh oil in here. Always use Rotella 15W40, regular old dinosaur oil, and change it every 3,000 miles. Keep it simple, guys. Don't need to go crazy with all this liqui moly or whatever that stuff is, or synthetics. You don't need to make this complicated. You can just use standard old 15W40 heavy duty diesel truck oil. All right, we'll let that settle down and see what it comes to on the dipstick. All right, guys, I like to put in like 6.5 quarts or so. I think it holds, or liters, I think it holds 8. But I put in 6.5, fire it up, let the new oil get through the system. Then I turn it off, I let it sit for like 10 minutes. Then I check the dipstick again and fill it up some more. This engine fires up really quick, really smooth. Look how smooth it's running. Very smooth. The valve adjustment and the good engine mounts help it to run smooth. All right, we'll let it sit for like 10 minutes and then come check our oil level. Let's see the condition of this power steering fluid. Yeah, it's a little bit brown, so I'll go ahead and change that. We'll get some fresh, it's actually automatic transmission fluid that's in there. So we'll go ahead and freshen that up. We have our power steering fluid or ATF fluid drained, and this is one of the most neglected items on these cars. There we go. It's not too dirty down in there. The power steering filter. So this one's definitely been doing its job. You can see how dirty it is. And there is our clean new filter. So we're going to drop a new filter down in here and get some fresh ATF fluid. There we go, in there, and button this all back up. Here's the stuff you need to use. Dex Merc. This is, let's see, Dexron 3. That's the stuff for Mercedes, for the power steering and the transmission. So I'm going to have to bleed the air out of the system since we've drained all the fluid, but we can get some back in there right now. See if I can use that big one. Hear all the bubbles? So I got to get all those bubbles out of the system. And you can do that by lifting the front wheels, turning the wheel lock, back and forth. And then that'll purge the air bubbles out. Then you can put in some more fluid and keep doing that process, turning the steering wheel lock to lock, and that'll purge the bubbles out. Okay, we've got that topped off and the air purged out. Now let's go ahead, since it's been sitting for a while, let's go check our oil level. Remember, we put in about 6.5 quarts. Now, we didn't drain the oil cooler, so 6.5 liters, but 6.5 quarts is US. So we should be a little low, but we should be just about right. Yeah, you can see we're a little low. We need to put in a little more. There we go. I bet you that's going to be good right there. All right, I was just checking the coolant, and you can see the correct Mercedes coolant is in there because it's basically the same color as the reservoir. It's that golden color, and that's the Zurex. That's the Zurex coolant. That's the stuff you want to use. But it looks like the previous owners have recently changed that because that's very clean, it's to the correct level, and it's fresh. So we don't need to flush out the coolant. And then as far as the brake fluid, they just put on those new rear calipers. That was the previous owner. So the brake fluid is actually very clean and clear. That is not dirty at all. So we're not going to flush that brake fluid. And I guarantee you 100% that they did that when they put on those rear calipers. Otherwise, it would not be so clean. So good. Let's go ahead and change our pre-filter. We'll check the oil again, and then we're ready to start on the transmission. We'll get the car up in the air, drop the pan, and take out the torque converter plug and get all that transmission fluid out of here. There we go. We're just going to check our engine oil level. And there we go. Perfect. Right below the top line and about 3/4 above the bottom line. Can't wait to go out and test drive this thing. All right, guys, we're starting on the transmission service. And that fluid does look good. I'm sure they've changed it. That's bright red. We're going to go ahead and drop the pan and change the filter anyway, just because we want to make sure. So while that's draining, I'm going to go ahead and loosen the pan bolts. And then we're going to take out the torque converter bolt, or plug, I'm sorry. Okay guys, this is going to be fun. I have my actual bore scope connected and pointed at there it is, it's pointed at the torque converter. So that way I can watch my little screen here. And when I see that torque converter plug pass by the bore scope, then I know I've rotated the engine enough. So y'all are going to get to see if it's come around, but I'm over here looking at the bore scope. All right, I don't see it on the bore scope yet. There it is right there. So you guys should see that plug right in the middle of your camera. There it is right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that out now. It takes a while for these to drain. There we go. we're just going to let that guy drain. In the meantime, we're going to put our plug back in the transmission pan, and then we'll get that pan off when this torque converter is done draining. Oh, very nice. Super clean in there. Transmission fluid is super clean too. I don't know if y'all can see the fluid draining out of here, but it is bright red and super clean. All right, so to get the filter off, it's just a few screws. All right. Okay, before we start cleaning our transmission pan, we're going to make sure the new filter matches the old filter. That is an exact match. This is actually an L-ring filter. Let's see, what they had in there was a Phoebe filter. So I didn't know Phoebe made filters, but that's a good sign. That means they had been changing their transmission filter. Yeah, and these are, gosh, these are probably made in the same plant. They look exactly identical. So let's go put this new filter up on the car. All right, guys, it's pretty simple. So there's a cork gasket here and here, and the cork goes into these inlet and outlets. And we just put that up in there. And you can't do it wrong because the holes don't line up if you do it wrong. And I'm just checking to make sure those cork gaskets are seated properly. Yeah, you can't put it on wrong. Just for some reason I like to check every time. All right, that's it for that. Let's go wash our pan gasket, or our pan, and put our new gasket on. This gasket has been changed before, so that's good. Otherwise, they're always stuck on there. Let's just wash this thing out real good. All right, there is our perfectly clean pan. Let's get a gasket on there. And this is actually a genuine Mercedes gasket. They're so cheap from Mercedes that there's no reason to go aftermarket, and the Mercedes stuff always fits perfect. It actually says 126, but it's the same for a 123. See the part number? And so these gaskets, they have a little tab. See this tab right here? That actually clips around the side of the pan and holds the gasket in place. They have one on both sides. And there we go, guys. There is our fresh pan gasket. Let's go get this back on the car. Now, if you notice, guys, I didn't wipe anything off here because you don't want to get anything contaminated. There's very small holes, very small orifices in the transmission body, and you just don't want to risk getting any dirt in there. And this was clean when I removed the pan. It's been sealed, so you don't want to wipe a rag up here and risk getting anything in there. You just leave it the way it is with all the fluid dripping from it. Because the first instinct is to wipe it down, but don't do that. All right. It's important, guys, that you don't over torque these bolts. There's not a lot of torque on these bolts. They're going into aluminum, and the gasket does all the sealing. So you don't want to crank these down. I think I say that in every one of my videos. If you crank it down, it's not going to seal right. You also want to get them started by hand because it's aluminum. You don't want to cross thread something. All right, I'll do it in a star pattern. You know, I'll start with this corner. And notice how I'm holding the wrench. I can't get a lot of leverage this way on purpose. And guys, that is good. The gasket's going to do all the work. You don't need to crank this down. All right, let's go get some fresh transmission fluid in here. All right, let's go ahead and get some fluid in here. This is Dexron 3 Valvoline. That's the stuff to use, same as the power steering fluid. And this is 1 gallon. Oh, I can't remember how much it takes. It's like a, maybe it was 5 or 6 liters. Anyway, I know it takes at least a gallon, and then I always have to top it off with another quart or so. All right, guys, before I take this car out, I want to go ahead and just do a diesel purge on it. Never done that before on this car. Don't know if any of the previous owners did. I just have my little contraption I made here. That's like a 2-liter Coke bottle with my send and return lines, and this just fits right down here behind the headlight. And then these lines I connect to my send and return for the fuel system. So let me get that connected up and we'll start a diesel purge. I just want to show you how I connect my diesel purge. This is the easiest way to do it. So here's my container here. That's where I put the diesel purge. This is my return line. It's just some 8AN braided racing hose I had in the cabinet. I disconnect the cigar tube right here. That goes back. That's actually the return to the tank. I disconnect that and I plug in my return line. And then I put a cup or a little bucket down here, and you can see right there, that's the original fuel line that comes from the tank. I just disconnect that from the filter and actually put in a new filter. The old filter is down in that cup. I just disconnect that and then plug my fuel input into the filter. That way I'm filtering anything that comes from the diesel purge container. But that's the easiest way to do it. Most instruction manuals will tell you to disconnect these hard lines back here. But that's not quite as easy to disconnect those as it is to remove the cigar hose here and just unplug one side of your filter. So let me get some diesel purge, fill that up, and we'll crank this thing up. All right, guys, you can see I have my diesel purge filled up in my container right there. All right, guys, we're just idling right now, and you can see the fuel return is squirting fuel back in here, and the fuel pickup is picking up diesel purge to our filter. So we're just going to go ahead and give it some RPMs, and we're going to run this whole amount through the engine. When engines are really dirty, that fluid, the diesel purge that comes back from the return line will be black. And this is very, very clean. So I'm sure this has already been done before on this engine. We'll go ahead and just go ahead and run the rest of this out of here. All right, we've used about half of it, and you can see it's relatively clear. Normally that would be, on dirty engines, it goes like solid black, but here it's almost the color of like gasoline. You can still see it has that golden color to it, and it's not completely black, so that tells me this engine was pretty damn clean, and I really didn't need to do a diesel purge. So we'll go ahead and run it for a little while longer, and then we'll take this thing out for a test drive and get the transmission level, fluid level set. There we go. Let's look. We burned about half of our diesel purge, which was, I put in 2 bottles. We burned 1. And you can see that is relatively clear. So that's pretty clean. Otherwise, on dirty cars, that ends up being very, very black. So that's good. All right, let's take this thing out and get the transmission fluid set. All right, guys, I just got back from my personal test drive, and also you can see I went to the car wash, and man, that thing cleans up nice. And one thing I like about the 1985 is in 85 they changed the turbo to the KK turbo, or KKK turbo. Yeah, I know that sounds weird. It's not a racist turbo, I promise. But they changed it to the KKK turbo from the Garrett turbo, and those spin up way quicker. They spool up faster, so you feel like you have, you know, more power, more acceleration. I really love that about the 85, because this car feels like that. And the thing I just liked about the test drive, the shocks are great, steering is great, but I did hear a little squeaking from the ball joint when I was pulling out of the driveway. And sure enough, I looked, the boot is cracked on it. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the ball joints, and then that's it. I'll do the official test drive and the walk around, and I mean, you guys can see this black 85 300D is beautiful, and I worked my butt off on this one. Oh, we have the Becker radio just came back. They just restored it, and it just came back today. So I'm going to go ahead and install that. And you'll see that here in a minute in this video. Here we go. I just got it back into the shop under the lights. And guys, this is now officially my new favorite color Mercedes. That black looks badass. Let me come around here and get a shot from the front. That is the coolest color. I've liked the red. That's an awesome color. And navy blue, dark blue, that's a good color. That's badass. That's my new favorite color Mercedes. Anyway, let's get in here and put the original Becker radio back in that just came back from the shop. All right, guys, check that out. Just got this back from Becker, whopping $385. But man, this thing looks beautiful. Looks brand new now. So let's go ahead and get this back in the car. Here we go. We have the official restored by Becker right there. So this should last another 30 years. Let's get this back in the car. Okay, I haven't slid everything all the way in. I've just made the connections on the back of the radio, and we want to check for functionality in left and right speaker, and check for antenna. So let's go ahead and give it some auxiliary power here, and immediately I see the clock comes up. Let's press our power. Okay, it's set on AM. Let's see if I can remember how to change a Becker to FM. Ah, there we go. All right, let's go to like Rock 100.5.
By Solomon Brothers Jewelers, now through Mother's Day, buy a jewelry gift.
Okay, we don't have any music there, but we successfully have
visit them online at SolomonBrothers.com for
sound out of both speakers. Let's check the fade. Oh yeah, fade works excellent. Fading to front and then fading all the way back to rear. Let me check this speaker over here.
From Peachtree Industrial Boulevard through
Yep, we got, oops, sorry for my finger over there. We got the speakers working. Let's try to do manual antenna control. Oh, fantastic. There we go. Now I'm going to close the antenna all the way manually. All right, then we're going to do a full extension of the antenna.
Conyers on Old Salem Road off Highway 138. Check out academy.com/Conyers for details.
Look, I know you guys are looking.
All right, now let's turn off the radio and make sure the antenna automatically retracts.
You're feeling.
Perfect. That's working exactly how it's supposed to. So mission accomplished, you guys. Let's go ahead and slide that radio back in there. There we go. There's little clips that'll engage underneath it right there. And then we're going to get our ashtray back in here. All right, guys. We got the radio reinstalled. And that looks fantastic. Becker did a great job. And the ashtray is back in, and that completes our the interior on this car. So, like I said, I'm going to change the in the next video. Well, I'm going to change the ball joints. I guess that's it for this video. But the next video, you should see the test drive and the walk around. And that'll be it for this car. And this is a super nice 85 300D with 112,492 miles on it. And I just personally took it out for a test drive, and it's awesome. It's fast. And anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video series. And please like and subscribe. I need to bump up my subscriber count. And we will see you in the next video. Take care.